Within our family, there's a line that's, have you ever considered divorce? And the response is usually, nope, never considered divorce. Homicide, considered homicide. The two things that people know about Emma is that she had 9 husbands and her own private cemetery in which to plant them. And whenever Emma was dissatisfied with something, and in particular, her current husband, she would get down to the river and look for a riverboat. So this was when she was kind of disgusted with her third husband. She went out to Michigan, and there in a hotel, a man asked if he could share her table over dinner. And it was Peter Cameron. He was what today you'd call an entrepreneur. And he described to her how he was going to go back to what was then called Prairie Crosse. He described it as having so much game and such a lush environment that there were bears and pigeons darkened the sky in a band 50 miles wide. The fish were so abundant they'd just jump right in your boat without you even having to put down a line. I mean, he told her such a story. And he said, the only thing that's missing from this is, I want you to go with me. And she said yes. The Mississippi River today is beautiful, but there was a time when part of it was just muggy and a malaria-ridden swamp. It was really not a very pleasant place at all. It actually, in the end, was the cause of Peter Cameron's death. He died 2 years after he'd had a drowning experience, and the water never quite got out of his chest, or the infection that he got from that never really went away from him, and he ended up dying from that. There's a version of history that says that at the time that he died, he was contemplating divorcing Emma, which puts a dark shadow over his death. And was it from the drowning, or was there some other, it was what today they'd call a suspicious kind of end for him.
After Peter's death, she was trying to get her hands on control of the property, which of course for a woman in the 1840s was pretty challenging.
Peter Cameron invited his parents to move out from New York, and Emma was glad to have them come, except they brought Peter's worthless baby brother Daniel along with them. He was 17 years younger, and he had a sense of entitlement. He thought that whatever Peter had done or accomplished in life, he should get credit for. About half of what is downtown La Crosse today belonged to them. You know, there's Cameron's Park there now, which they fought with the city over the purchase price of that property, and that wasn't resolved until almost the time of Emma's death. So when Peter died, Daniel decided everything that Peter and Emma had built should be his. And Emma thought, with all the suffering and sacrifice and investment and hassle and everything that she'd gone through, I mean, she was his partner in every sense. At that point of time in Wisconsin, a woman couldn't own real estate. But if you had a male heir, property could be put in a trust. She got sick of fighting with him, got down to the river, got on a boat, took a trip, came back more than a year later with a baby and a long-distance fiance. She came home with that child. People were very curious about that. Was this really Peter Cameron's baby? He was born 7 months after Peter died. And one night, right at that time between day and night, she was brushing her hair and she saw Daniel coming up. And he got off his horse, came up jiggling Peter's desk keys, which had disappeared a week before, and Emma knew he had them. So as he was coming through and heading for the desk to get some papers that would help with the real estate and the estate fight, she tripped him. And when he came up, he kind of went for her, and she had now taken to carrying her handgun in her apron pocket. She pulled it out and shot twice. One ball went through his coat and the other one took off his little finger. The day after Emma shot Daniel, the newspaper came out and said she should be charged with attempted murder. She went to the newspaper office and asked for a retraction. They said no. They wouldn't retract it. She said, "Will you sell me an ad?" "Well, certainly." So she put her gold down on the counter and bought a full-page ad and told her side of the story. which was a very elaborate story about how she was alone and vulnerable and defenseless, and how her grandfather had fought in the Revolutionary War with General Washington, and how those people would be so mortified if they thought their descendant had been robbed by some Scotch Tory. And she signed it with good grit till death, Emma Cameron Bowles. Emma was never charged. Emma was the life of the party. She was known as the Belle of La Crosse. And after she died, the papers said there would never be a more beautiful woman ever seen in La Crosse, no matter when or how big it got.
I think the mystery of Emma is how did she captivate so many people and attract their attention, not just men, I mean just people in general. The Toast of the Northwest becomes a story long after she's left La Crosse. The mystery again of the femme fatale, or is she really the Toast of the Northwest?
I spent my whole life trying to separate the myth from the truth about Emma. Every person that witnesses anything in life has their own version of it, and so I tell the story from Emma's point of view. And from her point of view, she always wanted to be the center of attention, and so she was.